Welcome, everybody, to the regular scheduled council meeting for Tuesday, December 5th, 2023. Madam Clerk, would you do roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Sandu.
Here.
Councilmember Papineau.
Here.
Councilmember Farmer. Here. Councilmember Lozano.
Here.
Mayor Vandenberg.
Here. Next, we will have silent prayer followed by the flag salute. Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well done, everybody. Madam Clerk, would you read the replay statement, please?
This meeting of the Galt City Council will be cablecast on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel, on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T Uverse cable systems. The meeting is closed caption and webcast at metro14live.satcounty.gov. Today's meeting replays Friday, December 8th at 9 a.m. and Saturday, December 9th at 9 a.m. This meeting can also be viewed at youtube.com/MetroCable14.
Thank you. Next is agenda approval and deletions. Is there anything from the council? Seeing none, we will move on to C, presentations. First is proclamation to the Sikh Temple of Sacramento. After the presentation, we're going to take a few minutes for photos and then pick up our regular scheduled business. Mr. Sandhu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here today to give the proclamation to Sacramento Sikh Society. Thank you for the whole council, give me the opportunity. And in this audience, there is a board of director from the Sacramento Sikh Society. They are here. I would like to call the name if they come stand by me. Devinder Singh, Lakhveer Singh Aujla, Lali Goldie, Harry Sangha, Amrik Singh Kale, Rantir Singh Nijjar, and Babu Singh Kalotia. Please, can you come to the podium along with me? Before I read the proclamation, I would express my gratitude to this Sacramento Sikh Society. They give a very generous donation to the honor of Harminder Singh Garewal's memorial. I would like to thank you all of the board members. They are here. All the Galt Police Department and City of Galt, they appreciate their donation. Now I would like to read the proclamation. Proclamation is the highest honor as a city we can give them as the honor. Sikhism originated in Punjab, region in North India 5 centuries ago. Today, there are approximate more than 25 million Sikh worldwide, making it the world's 5th largest religion. The three key pillars the Sikh, there is first pillar is Naam Japna. That means focus on God. God is one. So every moment we take breath, give His name, Vaheguru. The second is Kirt Karni, honest earning. Do your hard work and do the honest earning. And third is Vand ke Shakna, sharing with others. If somebody need help, if somebody need food, if you have a food, give to somebody's food. Sikh American constitute a well-established religious, social, and ethnic group among the people who have immigrated to California and to the United States of America. Sikh immigrants have added to the American culture and continue to maintain their own culture and tradition. The Sacramento Sikh Society, 7676 Bradshaw Road, Sacramento, will serve as a place of worship for the majority of Sikh residing in the Sacramento area, came into existence in more than 30 years ago. The Sacramento Sikh Society had generously donated $21,000 to the Harminder Garewal Memorial. Now that the City Council of City of Galt, California commends and recognize the Sacramento Sikh Society for their generous donation of $21,000 to the Harminder Garewal Memorial. That's the proclamation I was read in front of everybody. But I know the Sacramento Sikh Society, their mission to create a very peaceful environment for the worship. They also promote athletes. They also promote education. So I thank you for all these board of members. They are here today to participate in them. Thank you. And now I would like to ask if any board member might we say a few words. And after that, Michael, he can say a few words on the behalf of Police Department Association. Thank you. So Michael, you want to come too?
For those who don't know me, my name is Michael Little. I'm the president of the Galt Police Officers Association. As you've seen in kind of the social media and may have been at our event last month, we have taken on the goal of fundraising over $100,000 to make a memorial to honor Harmon in front of our police department. This donation from the Sikh Society of Sacramento officially pushes us past that. We have raised every dollar we need to account for. My heart is overwhelmed. Just the generosity from August 22nd and continuing all through this day is quite incredible. To have a group step in and donate such a large chunk, I mean, just about a fifth of what we are looking at is very humbling. Words can't really describe it. And I know that once this memorial is built, we hope to have you guys all come back and see how beautiful it is, and would love to be able to have you guys part of our family as well. So thank you.
And now I would like to ask Mayor and the Council if have a few minutes, we can have a historical picture with Board of Director and Garewal family here. And I would like to ask the Council, please join, and City Manager and Chief. Thank you.
Again, on behalf of everybody in the city of Galt, thank you. Next will be C2, Galt Community of Character Coalition Responsibility presentation.
Good evening. I'd like to ask other members of the Galt Community of Character Coalition to step up also. We're here to honor an individual who has been a role model of responsibility in this community for over 60 years. Earl Arentz, can you step forward, please? The Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines responsibility as, number one, the quality or state of being responsible, and two, the quality of being dependable. Responsibility is also a character trait of focus highly prized by the Galt community. Errol Arentz is the true definition of responsibility and leadership for 60 years. As the curator for Galt's Historical Society, Ray House, for 5 years, Earl had worked tirelessly. Earl moved with his family to Galt as a young man in 1958. He served his country in the Army. Before and after his time of military service, Earl worked at the meat company his father and uncle owned and operated, where Brewster's Bar and Grill is now located. While working in Lodi as a full-time butcher, he also attended night school for 7 years to earn his bachelor's degree in order to become a first-grade teacher, a job he truly loved. In his spare time, Earl was a Boy Scout leader and a volunteer for Galt United Methodist Church, creating and publishing weekly newsletters and bulletins for approximately 20 different pastors. He played the organ for all those years, plus weddings and funerals, all without pay. He has occupied many seats or hats within the church, including financial secretary, board of trustees, photographer, and historian. Earl has worked tirelessly collecting food from local stores and delivering food to several senior living locations throughout Galt on behalf of the Sunshine Food Pantry and Resource Center. He was also on the church's exploratory committee at the very beginning of setting up the freestanding food pantry. Currently, Earl sits on the board of directors for the Sunshine Food Pantry and Resource Center. Earl Arentz has been a dedicated and responsible pillar of his church and to the community of Galt for over 60 years. He has accomplished many, many tasks, all without fanfare, until tonight. It is an honor to call Earl Arentz a friend and neighbor. He is a true role model of responsibility, and Earl was nominated by Mona Stratton. Congratulations, Earl.
Yes. Thank you, sir. It's people like you that truly make this a great American little town. Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you read the public comment statement, please?
Under Government Code Section 54954.3, members of the public may address the City Council on non-agenda items. The public comment section is for the City Council to receive comments, except for brief responses to questions. No discussion or action may be taken on any item that is not listed on the agenda. Please limit comments to a maximum of 5 minutes. Consistent with the City Council procedural guidelines, the mayor reserves the right to shorten the time limit for speakers to ensure the efficient and timely completion of all city business on the agenda. We have 2 speakers right now. Ken Lee.
Hello, I'm Ken Lee. Hello, council members. The Christmas Light Parade was a well-attended family event. I loved the Galt-sponsored Christmas tree collection on the promenade. The snowmaking machines at 4th and B was a nice attraction for the kids. They all loved it. But I do have a safety concern regarding automobile traffic penetrating the parade route before and after the event. The access was gained from the promenade parking lot at East Street, as well as street access from East Street. The solution is to have a secondary barrier before and after the parade to redirect the cars out of the parking lot and to keep the residents on East Street from driving onto 4th. Councilman Farmer was there, fortunately, to direct and let the slow-moving cars exit that penetrated on 4th Street. Also, there was cars parked on 4th Street parade route. It would be beneficial to have the CERT-trained traffic controllers exercise traffic control. They work for free. And it was nice to see the private company versus the police and city personnel set up the safety barriers. And that had to be a good cost expense for the city. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ralph Cortez.
It's nice to be here this evening. Good evening, Mayor Vandenberg, council members, city staff. My name is Ralph Cortez, representing the Kiwanis Club of Galt. I just wanted to give a report. The Kiwanis Club of Galt has partnered with the City of Galt Park and Recreations Department, sponsoring our Kiwanis Day at the Pool community events. When we first started hosting, it was for 1 day and covered the entrance fees for children 17 and under to attend the pool that day. Over the last few years, our club has decided to increase to 1 weekend each month. We coordinated those dates with Monica Lopez and her staff. This year, the city also added our event to their online social media.
Mr. Cortez, if I may interrupt you, is this pertaining to the item on the agenda?
No.
Okay, just want to double check
No,
before you get too far.
This was, no. This is a community that we do, a community event we do. So results for this year, June, there were 49 kids. July, there were 96 kids. And August, 97, totaling 242 kids. And the total entry fee was $1,452. We look forward to our partnership with the City of Galt Parks and Recreation and offer the Kiwanis Day at the Pool community events for years to come. Yeah, our organization covers the entry fee during the summer months for entrance to the city pool. Mm-hmm. And so this was just a quick report on that as well.
Yeah, okay, thank you. This was double checking.
Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much, sir. No more public comment. Thank you. Next is reports by city council members on regional boards, commissions, and/or committees. Vice Mayor Sandhu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's a couple things. One was the public safety meeting. This was on November 27. We discussed A lot of things. There was a main three things we discussed. Always our citizens have a concern. One was the homelessness. The other thing is burglary last month or month before. And also like in crime rate. And the fourth thing we discussed, bike lanes connected to east and west side. And during the meeting, I thank you, Mr. Small. He did very, explanation to the committee. And I believe all the committee was satisfied, they answered it. And same thing on the connective device, Mr. Selling was here. He did very good explanation to the committee. So these are the concern, and we did discuss each other, and on this point, we don't take any action to bring to the council. But still, I talked to the department, same thing, Mike Sally, they explain, is a very good explanation. And the other thing, we have a meeting with council member Lozano, 2x2 consumers, CSD meeting, and that was 2x2, two council member, like in board member from here, and two was from the Algro. We discussed some things regarding the station 46, they're going to expand, but certainly will hold detail, it can come back next in the future as an agenda item to the whole council. And that's the original meeting, I have a couple, and that's it, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Pompano.
I've not had any meetings to report on.
Thank you. Councilman Farmer.
I have had no meetings as well to report. Thank you.
Councilman Lozano.
No meetings. My next SACOG board meeting is December 11th, so I'll report at the next meeting on that.
Thank you. I have nothing to report as well. Next is information and consent calendar. It is recommended that items 1 through 6 be acted on simultaneously unless separate discussion and/or action is requested by the council. Do any council members would like to pull any of the particular items? Seeing none, first I would like to ask if there's any public comment on this item.
No public comment.
So, seeing no public comment, I'll be looking for a motion to receive file warrants for period ending November 1st, 2021, November 21st, 2023, minutes of the regular meeting for November 21st, 2023, treasurer reports for period ending October 20th, 2023, January 2nd, 2024, City Council meeting cancellation, installation of water filtration station construction contract award, authorize an increase in Fund 048 budget revenues, and authorize a supplemental appropriations for professional services within Fund 048 CEQA exempt 15301C, award of wastewater treatment plant agricultural lease CEQA guidelines 15301B Class 1 existing facilities. Do I have a motion? Moved by Councilman Lozano, seconded by the mayor. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Vice Mayor Sandu.
Aye.
Councilmember Papineau.
Aye.
Councilmember Farmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Lozano.
Aye.
Mayor Vandenberg.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Next is, there's no scheduled matters of public hearing. Regular calendar would be the city manager's office, funding options for Walker Park. Mr. Hines.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Walker Park is located within the city, bordering the jurisdictional boundary of Sacramento County along Sargent Avenue to the west. In 2004, the original Walker Community Park Master Plan was completed. At that time, it I believe, contained 4 phases. In 2011, Phase 1 was completed, which included 3 sports field, 1 football field, 2 soccer, a play area, playground park area, restroom storage building, limited roadway access, and parking. As we move forward, we are looking to determine the options for funding Phase 2. of this project, specifically Phase 2A and Phase 2B. You can find those on descriptions of those two phases on page 2 of 5 of the staff report. On page 3 of 5 of the staff report, we lay out the estimated costs for Phase 2. The current phase in Phase 2 is about $2.2 million. I believe we have those dollars in hand. We're looking for options to fund 2A and 2B. 2A is currently estimated at $5.2 million, and 2A is the construction cost estimate to complete 3 baseball fields, and 2B is the cost estimate to complete 2 proposed 300-foot softball fields with additional parking and restrooms that sit on property currently owned by the Galt Joint Elementary School District. At our last meeting, council asked me to bring back funding options for funding 2A and 2B to essentially complete Phase 2. And so I have some options before you. I'm going to go through each of these options, and that way we can get right to the heart of the matter. Option 1, and these options fall into 2 categories. The first 2 options are Measure Q-based options, and council approved Measure Q expenditures up to $2.9 million earlier this year, leaving roughly $1.4 million in annual proceeds that we're projecting for Measure Q. If council were to utilize those savings, they would move to, we would be able to use those savings in the first 2 options. And so on page 4 or 5, option 1 is to utilize $1 million of the excess of $1.4 million annually in unencumbered Measure Q dollars to do sort of a pay-as-you-go formula. Essentially, the city would save $1 million a year until they came up with the requisite amount of funds, and then they would go ahead and complete or undertake the project. Option 2, we could utilize the $1 million in excess, and again, this is $1 million of $1.4 million in excess that I'm talking about for both of these options. And so utilizing $1 million of the $1.4 million to essentially use it as debt service, council could proceed with these 2 examples at the bottom of page 4 or 5. So let me be clear. These are examples. These are not directives. These are not strong suggestions. They are examples of what you can do with the dollars. And so under long-term funding scenario 1, if we were just to focus on funding Walker Park and Littleton improvements only, the project would fund at about $12.9 million. Annual debt service would be about $830,000. That debt service would be over 30 years. The current interest rate is 4.67. The total interest that we would pay over 30 years would be about $12.1 million. So if we just were to focus on Walker Park and improvements of the Littleton. If we were to look at long-term funding scenario number 2, which is just a scenario of, okay, if we decided to use $1 million as debt service, just flat out, how much could we raise? And so if we were to use $1 million in debt service, we would raise about $15.5 million over 30 years. Interest rates about 4.67. We would pay about $14.6 million in interest over 30 years. On page 5 of 5, going back to long-term funding scenario number 1, these are examples of some of the items that we could address with that $12.9 million. Again, you see the improvements for Walker Park, and you see the improvements for the Littleton Community Center. Another option, which is a non-Measure Q option, is to utilize interfund loans. And council could explore the utilization of interfund loans to fund these improvements. The highest fund balances sit within the enterprise group, city utilities, water, sewer, and solid waste. Currently, the city does not have an interfund loan policy. While there's no legal prohibition on the practice of utilizing interfund loans, if the lending fund is an enterprise, consideration must be given to the perceptions of the ratepayers. When we build these rates in the enterprise fund, they are built for reserves, capital improvements, and ongoing operations, and I'm sure there's some other elements as well. And so if the ratepayers find out that we're loaning money or the fund is loaning money to other funds, there may be some concern. The funds belong to the enterprise fund and must be used in accordance with Prop 218 and other legal restrictions. For these reasons, it's generally not recommended that we go that route, but again, that's council's prerogative. So we have some late-breaking news in this area. Late-breaking meaning yesterday at 10:37 a.m. It looks like the California Department of Parks and Recreation, again, that's the State Department of Parks and Recreation, has awarded the city a grant for Walker Park Phase 2 of $2.65 million. And so we're happy that we were able to secure that grant. However, that grant requires a match of $2.65 million in order for us to draw that down.
Just for quick clarification, this is over and above anything that's on the
Yes, sir.
agenda report that we are reading? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, we got this news yesterday, and of course, you know, the agenda was published last Thursday.
Right.
And, but we wanted to make sure you had all the information. And so, Mr. Mayor, I turn it back to you. I've got legal consultants online if you want to ask any questions about any of the options, and I'll turn it back to you and the council. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Hines. Madam Clerk, is there any public comment on this item?
Not on this item.
Thank you. Questions from the City Council? Mr. Pompano?
Probably have several. One question regarding the interfund idea. I know that fund has to be spent per Prop 218 on those items. Where are we? What I'm worried about is if we were to touch something like that, one obviously is the perception that's not what that money's designed for. Secondly, would we find ourselves facing some sort of catastrophe where that stuff's needed in an emergency? And I don't know if that goes to Mike or who.
Council, as far as the interfund loan option through the enterprise funds, what I would tell you is, per the State Regional Water Quality Control Board, we have emergency reserve requirements that we have to withhold. So I don't know if there's been any analysis as to, you know, beyond those requirements, how much funding could be available. But yeah, as you well noted, obviously not intended for that, but it is eligible to do that. I guess I would just strongly caution that we verify what might be available before we look any further down that road, so to speak. So, I don't know, Matt, did you have any?
I just wanted to add, we need to do more analysis because we do have some planned use of those reserves in our 5-year CIP. So in the ongoing years, if we were to loan an interfund loan for 30 years, it could be possible that those utility funds would have to then borrow money to finance their needs over that period of time.
Right, and that's kind of the trail of dominoes that I was afraid of, or in addition to just the fact that we find ourselves in an unexpected emergency and we've left ourselves hanging out to dry. So, thank you, guys. And I realize we're probably going to bring up more questions than answers tonight, and I didn't have a chance to get to any of you directors in advance of this, but one thing that was a concern is if we were to use one of these scenarios, the bond specifically, come up with the money to fund these projects right now, do we have the capacity to carry them out? Given our current city staff and being able to supervise subcontractors and so forth?
Yeah, I'll just clarify real quick as far as what Matt said on the last question. So, yeah, just to be clear, so there's emergency reserve requirements that we have to have, and then we would obviously want to, essentially wall off whatever's in our CIP. So there would likely be some residual available potentially for it, but that's the analysis that would have to be done. So then on to the question of the bandwidth or capacity to take on the project. Certainly we would have to look at, our current workload and determine, reprioritize, so to speak, if the council's direction is to, move forward in some direction on next phase of Walker Park. I would certainly confer with my city engineer, but I think there are some, the utility projects would certainly be our highest priority. There are a few other projects that would potentially, be reprioritized lower, so to speak, so we could allocate resources to whatever the council's direction is for Walker. So, and depending on what that is, we would have to evaluate, potentially get on board a consultant to even manage that. There's always going to be some level of staff oversight, though, that's required. So that's, again, would have to be determined based on what type of project, how large and what areas of expertise would be needed. And so that would be something we'd have to come back with you on to give you a sense of what those impacts might be, what those other projects that are affected might be. So,
Thanks. As I said, probably more questions than answers tonight, but that's it for me for now.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, thank you. The option 3, I'm also like to see if we can explore that and what we available. Because option 2, I believe we already discussed it, I think 2-3 months ago. And option 1, as the last resource, is kind of slow. What we have, we're going to have to use it. One more question, Matt, just for the clarification. What kind of reserve we have at this time, just from the general fund?
In the
Just the
general fund-
percentage, what we have to keep, what percentage, and then we also have another, 6 or 8 million also we say is reserve. Can you just might we
Yeah, I
explain
took
to
a look at our proposed fiscal year 23 fund balance for the general fund, and the available fund balance that would be available for use for this is estimated to be about 15 million. But I would caution using that, tying that up for 30 years would severely impact the general fund's ability to respond to any changes to our assumptions via, if there's any unplanned revenue drops or expenditure increases.
So that 50 million each kind of requirement, or we keeping as a safe side?
If I might, I think I understood the question completely different. So I need clarification for myself too. It was my previous understanding, and this is, going back like 8 months, 10 months or whatever from budget discussions. The government requires us to have a rainy day fund. And I believe from memory, we have like 2 funds, one at 8.6 and one at 4.6 or something like that, roughly. Is that what you were referencing,
Yeah.
Mr. Vice Mayor? And so those values are based on percentages required by the government. And I thought he was asking, do we have anything over and above those values that we could pull from without doing an interfund loan that we just have, it's good to have that security, but is there any cushion in there?
Correct. So we have our economic reserve is a council policy, and that's 25% of the general fund and the Parks and Recreation expenditures. So that's separate. That's reserve fund balance. So an undesignated that currently doesn't have any use restrictions for the general fund, we have an estimated 15 million at the end of fiscal year 23. But that's also something we would use if there were any economic uncertainties, or if, say there were a recession or a sales tax or property tax, receipts that the city receives don't match what we've budgeted, or if we get something from CalPERS that our unfunded pension liability is significantly increasing, those, even though it's not part of the economic uncertainty reserve, the undesignated reserves would also be something we would utilize to stabilize the impact to the city.
Could you clarify the difference between those two reserves?
So we have the economic uncertainty, which is the council policy. So that's something we put in our restricted fund balance per the policy, and that's formula driven. So that's the 25% of the general fund and Parks and Recreation expenditures. And the undesignated doesn't have any restrictions or assignments on it. It's available for use. But if we were to encounter any revenue or expenditure uncertainties, that is the pool we would use first, would be the undesignated.
Thank you. Thank you for the allowing me to interrupt, Mr. Sandhu. Please go ahead.
Oh, thank you. And I have no intent to use that, but just for the clarification, that's why I asked you question. We have a 25%, that's the requirement, we need to keep them. And then we have another fund too, that's why I just want to be clarified. Thank you.
Is that all, sir?
Yeah.
Mr. Farmer?
Yeah, Mr. Boring, so just to clarify for myself and for the audience, the undesignated is the 15 million, and the fiscal reserve, which is the 25% policy of the general fund and 25% of the Parks and Rec fund, that is different than the 15 million.
Correct, those are separate.
And how much is that? How much do we currently set aside for that, roughly?
Roughly, I believe it's somewhere around 6 million now. It increased because we have increased expenditures for Measure Q in the Parks and Rec fund.
Right, and the purpose of that 6 million is for, that's the rainy, I mean, that's one rainy day. We have two rainy day funds, essentially. That's the one for fiscal, I mean, if you were to read the policy of the 25%, however it's worded, it's basically, it's worded in a way that you explained a minute ago, whereas if we got in financial hardships or whatever, right? I mean, that's what it's for, right?
Correct. It has the formula to calculate how much it should be, and there's guidelines on what needs to happen before that reserve is used.
Yeah. So, I mean, my thought process is this. I mean, obviously, having that policy is smart. All cities do it. We do it. 25% is pretty good. I know cities can fluctuate between 20%. I've seen some as low as 15, but 25 is, it used to be 20, and I think the council upped it to 25 at some point, maybe 6 years ago or 5 years right before we came on. But anyways, good policy, right? But, you look at that and you go, well, what are we going to use it for? A recession? Okay. Well, we went through one of those. Then we had a pandemic, which was unheard of. I don't know, in my knowledge, the city of Galt has ever touched their fiscal reserve fund, ever, that I know of. I would love to know. But I'm not saying we should touch that, but that's 6 million. We have this other 15 million. So what I'm saying is we have $21 million here. I'm not going to suggest us trying to pull 12 million out of that, because I don't think that would be responsible. But what I'm looking at here is we need 12.9 to finish all the projects we're looking at. We have 2.6 we were just given, which requires a match. We have another, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe I'm wrong about this, we had the 1 point whatever that we got originally, which is separate from the 2.6. We have 1.4 million excess above what we've already allocated for expenditures for Measure Q. So you're looking at 2.6, so we're at 2.6, that's 4 million right there. And then and then whatever the other million was. So roughly, probably a little over 4 million we can already account of. So we're looking at roughly like $8 million is what we really need to finish all these projects. And we have 21 million sitting in reserve fund. So it seems to me that we should be looking at an option of maybe taking that 8 that we need, maybe borrowing maybe 4 of that from the 21 million, paying back ourselves with interest, and then as Measure Q builds, I mean, our projections are next year, it'll probably be higher than what we projected. And these things are going to take time anyways to come online. We're not going to build Walker Park in 1 year. there might be more money there. So I think what this council was talking about, I don't mean the entire council, but some of us were talking about earlier is trying to borrow from that was, borrow what we need to get started on things and then see how it goes. But I just know that if my wife came to me and said, our refrigerator went out, let's go to Lowe's and finance a new refrigerator because we don't want to dip into our $250,000 savings account because, something might happen and we might need that. I mean, there's a point where you're trying to be smart, but at the same time, you're being fiscally, it's like penny wise, pound foolish to pay that much interest when you literally can pay yourself that interest. I mean, I don't even know if that's legal. You guys are talking about enterprise funds. Maybe it's not legal to borrow from the reserve, but I believe it is. So that's where my head's at on this. My biggest problem with the bond is not really so much just the interest, but it's also that we are committing a $1 million of Measure Q for 30 years. Like that money is earmarked. So people are going to come and go, well, we got Walker Park, that's great, but for 30 years, $1 million of it's committed. And Measure Q was not just about Walker Park. Walker Park is a huge priority, but Measure Q money was intended for all parks and recreation. There's a lot of other things, in 2 or 3 years from now, 4 or 5 years from now, we might decide there's another priority we want to shift in Parks and Rec. Maybe we need to put money over here, but we can't because all the money's been committed to Walker Park through debt service. So for me, I want to get Walker Park done. I get that, and the community is not going to be patient enough to wait till we just save up $12 million out of Measure Q. But I believe we can get creative, and we can bridge that through a couple different ideas, and that's kind of where my train of thought is. And I don't that option obviously. I thought we were very clear when we asked for additional funding options that we were looking at some of those reserve funds, and yet those weren't brought to us. We've only been shown the enterprise stuff. So that's my comments so far.
Thank you, sir. A lot of good stuff there. Mr. Zolano. Oh, just real quick, is it legal or illegal to, if a fund was to be borrowed from, to pay interest back to it? Is that?
With the general fund, the city has a lot more discretion actually than the restricted enterprise funds. So you could pay yourself back any way you want. It's general fund dollars. The general fund reserve. So the enterprise funds you would have to pay back at interest, but not necessarily with the general fund.
Okay, so good clarification. Thank you. Mr. Lozano.
Yeah, I just have a couple of questions. Appreciate the report. I asked this earlier, and I think you shouted out to everybody, Mr. Hines, but Littleton Community Center improvements. I know we've been talking a lot about Walker Park, but what does that look like? And specifically my question was about the kitchen and the walk-in refrigerator and whether or not that would be redone with the $80,000.
Okay. I'm going to let Mr. Solis and Mr. Selling speak to that. They can get into the specifics.
To answer the question specifically, yes, the kitchen remodel, I believe, would include the walk-in refrigerator. So.
Okay, and then we would also replace flooring and cabinets and all of that?
Yes, that's correct.
It's not just a $80,000 refrigerator, it's
no.
more than that. Okay.
Yeah, correct.
And that's all contained within that 12.9 million? Okay. I agree. I think we need to get Walker Park done sooner than later. Wasn't long ago, less than a year ago, that was brought to our attention that there was some field use issues in terms of softball specifically and baseball. And I think this would go a long way in helping address that issue. As regardless of how we grow, the youth sports are continuing to grow at a much more rapid pace. And so I certainly think that the Walker Park issue is something we need to deal with sooner than later. But I would also say that our Littleton Center has significant need as well. And this, that's a center that's used by many of our local nonprofits, and we rent it out for wedding receptions and things of that nature. And so I think however we figure out the funding, I think we do need to look at not just Walker Park, but also the Littleton Center. So,
Mr. Mayor, if I could
Yes, please.
make a statement. We also had some internal discussions regarding Littleton and the possible replacement of Littleton. And I'm going to let Mr. Solis talk a little bit about that option since we're in a creative place right now. I'd appreciate that, Mr. Solis.
So one of the options could be that the building is quite old and whether to replace or repair. We got rough estimates to put in a new hall at the Boys and Girls property. They said they were able to utilize the flooring that's currently there. Between $4.5 and $5 million would be the cost to put in a new center there.
Would it be bigger? How much? What might be some of the advantages of doing that?
That it would be bigger. It would be designed to have a more formal
Appeal and
hall,
look?
and then a basketball area. So you could do both, have the nicer events and then still have the sports. And then, like I said, the Littleton Center was built in the mid to late 70s. So the building's quite old. The acoustics are horrible. It's an old building.
Thank you. That's a fair point. Do you have any more, Mr. Lozano?
I do, if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, sir.
I just want to say I do agree with Mr. Lozano, and as a matter of fact, one of the things I wanted to bring up tonight is I actually, aside from the Walker Park discussion, would totally be in support of us looking at the expenditures that have been laid out for us and I know they just mentioned the cost of either doing repairs or looking at building something different. Aside from that conversation, we have leftover 1.4 Measure Q. I mean, the Littleton Community Center, as was stated by Councilman Lozano, is widely used and very important in the community to many organizations. And those repairs are a long time coming. I have a question. Mr. Solis, did we not put a roof on Littleton recently? Or am I imagining things?
Was that a complete roof, Mike? Or?
Yes, there was a new membrane that was put on, I believe it was 2 years ago or so.
Okay. So, I mean, I agree that the building is aged. I think at some point it would be nice to have a new building. But I think that we're starting to shift around our priorities. I think we've kind of talked about how, Walker Park seems to be a big priority. And I think another center means that we have a center and we can invest some money into it and maybe give it, a facelift and some fresh life, and maybe it can get us, 8 or 10 more years. I think is probably where we should be looking at instead of doing that. But what I wanted to circle back to regarding the other is, we projected $3.8 million from Measure Q, and I think there's been discussions, it's probably more like 4 or 4.2 is what we'll probably end up with. But just for sake of conversation, let's call it 4. This council has already committed, basically roughly 2.5 million of ongoing. That means not pickleball courts, not buying new lawn equipment. Those were one-time expenses. We have committed long-term 2.5 million of that residual. So that's money that's beefed up our mowing, it's operations and maintenance, all the things that are listed in our staff report. So we've committed 2.5. If we do another million for debt service, we've now committed 3.5. So all the Measure Q money, the lion's share of it has been committed. And all we've done is just beef up the landscaping, bought some new equipment, and we're going to finish watering, that's it. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It just seems rash for us to rush in and commit all of the Measure Q money so quickly early in the game when we're still kind of trying to see. And so I just wanted to point out that we got to be careful not to commit for ongoing things, that money. And because again, I don't know. I just think that it says 6 to 12 years if we were to save up the money. But I'm just doing some quick math, and here's something. Actually, I want to bring this up. This is something that kind of bothers me right here, and I know this is kind of a different conversation, but when it talks about where we've committed Measure Q money, it has the 2.5 that I mentioned, it has the pickleball courts that we installed, we have some capital equipment we bought, 341,000, and then it has the lighting and landscape park fund deficit. So we took $1.2 million of Measure Q money and put it right back into the general fund to square up the general fund. But if you talk to most people in this community, they were under the impression that Measure Q money was going to help supplement Parks and Rec because it couldn't pay for all the things it needed to pay for. So what we've done now is we've created a new tax that people are paying for, and we went back to saying that Measure Q we're only gonna use Measure Q money for Parks and Rec. We're not gonna use any general fund money now. Essentially, that's what we're just saying here. And so now we've gone back to the same policy where the flea market paid for Parks and Rec for all the years until it didn't. So what I'm going is, I know this is a discussion we've kind of floated around, but I just don't like the idea that we're going to say to ourselves, to the city of Galt, that we're not going to designate or dedicate any dollars of general fund to Parks and Rec. I feel we should be leaving the 1.2 from the general fund budget to Parks and Rec and let Measure Q be the supplement until we can take care of all these things that we want to do. And if you do that, then you're looking at another 1.2 right there. And that's, I know, a discussion for another day. It's a policy discussion we need to have.
That's actually a good point, and any further, and it should be brought up at the end of the meeting.
So anyways, that's it for now, Mayor. And
Okay, thank you. So, I think it's worth noting that it's really good that we're in a financial place that we can actually have this discussion instead of what are we going to cut? And, it's always a game of hungry hippo as soon as there's some money available. So thank you to everybody, the city council, staff, city manager, for putting us in this position. Every citizen should appreciate it very much. I read through this throughout the day and yesterday a couple of times, 3 times to be exact, and I don't know if this question could be answered, but if the construction cost moving forward by us saving the money exceeded what the bond cost would be, the only difference may be is when it happens, and it may be the same cost. An example of that maybe is our swimming pool. It loses roughly $80,000 a year, but nobody complains about that loss because of the benefit to the community. So that's, to be proactive or the devil's advocate for the bond fund, if you could bond and give you all these things and then have the money coming forward, I'm not saying I'm a fan of it, but that's a reasonable point of view to take when looking at those possibilities. Also, the ARPA funds, there's still a little under 500,000, I believe, that is unspent. It is not designated. It could be used for any number of things, correct? We do have that flexibility depending on what happens in other areas. I am a fan of at least getting the match on the grant the quickest way possible for the various, general funds, rainy day values that we have. I don't think that's an unreasonable amount to ask for when the total is 21 million. To dip that down to 19, I still think we're safe. I would agree with Mr. Sellings that going, it sounds good, but borrowing from those other funds sounds a little bit sketchy, to use, for lack of a better word. I noticed in reading through this, I didn't see anything for a splash pad at Walker Park. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is there any plans for that at the pool area? Did I just forget about it because I've been ill, or what?
No, there currently are no plans for that. It was actually removed from the first Walker Park master plan update due to the cost of the pumps to recirculate the water. And with the water conservation that is now going on in the state of California, we were concerned with those issues. And Measure Q was not in place when we updated the Walker master plan last time.
Sure. Thank you. So as far as Measure R goes, I went and looked at, and just for the general citizens, Yeah, for Measure Q, I went and looked at Measure R, so I might have misstated that, but, I went to city-galt-ca-budget-book.cleargovernment.com, where it has our budgets, and it's, thank you for making that website and making that happen. It's a lot easier and faster to take an overview of our budget. So in there, it shows that Public Safety Measure R produces almost $2.3 million annually. Now, that was a 19% increase from the previous years, and I wouldn't anticipate a 19% increase year over year for sure, but Mr. Boring, in your professional opinion, I know we had a couple of conversations about this briefly, but in your opinion, what would be a reasonable amount year over year increase in Measure Q and/or R?
From the last meeting we had with our sales tax consultants, I believe they were looking like a 2 to 3% annual increase over the next 5 years for sales tax in Galt.
Okay. So at 3%, that's, 4.7, then 5.4 the next year, and then 5.6 the next year. So that's a tidy sum. If the other values we have committed don't increase through their natural means by themselves. So with that said, I would also say that I agree with Mr. Lozano. I don't think that the Littleton Center, it would be nice to build a new building, but I don't think that's quite practical. I would like to see the kitchen redone. We do a good job of hiding the barbecues in the back, but it would be really nice. I think we should leave the floor, maybe do the sound system. The kitchen and the refrigerator should be really high priorities in those buildings. The floor's not pretty, but it is functional. Well, it's not the prettiest, but it is functional. It's a matter of taste. So I don't know if, I'm kind of done. I don't know if that gives staff enough consensus to give a direction. Mr. Hines?
Yes. So what I'm hearing is that we'll take a look at the enterprise funds to see if there's any excess above all the requirements. We know that that's probably a priority that is somewhat risky. We'll take a look at the general fund, and we'll project out what the general fund's supposed to look like over the next 5 years. Granted, we have labor negotiations popping in 2025, so I'm just mentioning that. And but we'll project out what the general fund will look like over the next 5 years, and we'll try to make sure we factor in anything that we see coming down the pike as far as major expenditures. If there's any CIP that's going to be hitting the general fund, we want to definitely make sure that's included as well. But we'll do a projection of what the general fund will look like over the next 5 years. So there's the utilities, there's the general fund. Littleton, we are not looking to replace the building. We're looking to make the upgrades. So we'll firm up those numbers that we're using for the upgrades. We'll also firm up the numbers for Walker Park, because these numbers, I believe, are about a year old, Mike, or 6 months old, or are they pretty accurate?
Yeah.
They're about a year old. So.
And if I may interrupt, Mr. Solis, earlier we had I texted you, and you said that really for sports, we need a minimum of 3 fields, correct?
Yes, for the number of organizations we currently have, you would need a minimum of 3 fields.
I just want to make sure that's in the conversation.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Are we talking Walker Park?
Yes.
Yeah, we're trying to get 5 fields in Walker Park.
No, I know, but since we're, seem to be leaning towards more of a piecemeal deal, I just want to make sure that that's kind of, some of the items are hit up front.
Right.
I have a couple questions, Mr. Mayor, before we jump off this
Could you let him finish? And Minister Lozano also had a couple of words.
Go ahead.
Yep. Thank you.
So we've got the utilities, we've got possible borrowing from the general fund, but we need to make sure it's safe. We've got the refresh of the numbers. The Littleton new building is off the table. Thank you for the compliments for the budget. regarding the budget. That's, we won an award for that recently, so thank you for that. And then we'll talk with our financial folks. And so you mentioned the word piecemeal. And so what we may bring back to you is sort of a combination of things. Councilmember Farmer brought up the possibility of using the general fund balance, some of the general fund balance, or one of the council members brought up using the general fund balance to match that state parks. I think it was you, Mayor. And that seems reasonable. And that's what the general fund is for these kinds of surprises. And all of a sudden, here's 2.6 million. By the way, there's a match. And so it's nice to be able to go into the general fund and know that we can match that with the undesignated general fund balance. And so Matt and I are always going to be a little, I don't want to use the word protective of the general fund balance, because that is our contingency for emergencies.
You better be.
Yeah, so having worked with a city in 2008, 2009, and 2010 that was struggling as a result of that downturn in the economy, it's always best to be prepared. And even though it looks like maybe we're over-prepared, it's a good position to be in. But frankly, from my position, I don't think that 2.65 million match, I don't think that's going to hurt us. If anything, that gets us, 5.2 million, and allows us to start with at least Phase 2A of Walker Park, and that gets us those 3 fields. We have a meeting with the school district next week to talk about the Jennings property, which is the property that the 2 other softball fields sit on. We're currently working with them on developing or drafting a lease, and so we could possibly move forward. With getting that done. So, and 2A is just, we're just talking about Walker Park, okay? Just the 3 fields. And so if we're talking 2B, we're talking the 2 other fields that are on the school district property.
Do we need any permissions for those that we have not yet to receive?
It's their property, and so we're working on a lease with them right now. We'll be meeting with them, I think, next Wednesday or Thursday.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm hearing. We'll keep moving forward and developing these possibilities, and then we'll take it from there. Okay?
Thank you very much, sir. Is there anything else from the city council? Did you agree with what he said overall?
I had something real quick, but I don't think Rich was done yet.
Okay, Mr. Lozano.
Yeah, just real quick. One of the other questions that I would have is, as we move forward and it comes back, if we could take, because I'm not totally opposed to the bond issue. I think if we do it responsibly, it might work out. But if we could take the both 12.9 million that's in the first column and then the 15.5 million that's in the second column, and when it comes back, kind of break that out as into, let's say, 25% increments. So what would 25% of each of those cost us over, just like you did in the staff report?
Okay.
And then what would half of it, and then 3/4? And then, of course, leaving these 2 items in here the way they are. So if we get to the point where it makes sense to borrow the money now because we see projections in, increase in wood costs or whatever it is,
right,
that we can make some decisions based on that and have kind of a general idea of what that looks like. I'll tell you, if we were, if this were 4 or 5 years ago, it probably would have been better to bond the whole thing because of the way the construction costs are going right now. And so, I was surprised to learn the cost per 1,000 square feet just to build a residential home is $100,000. So that's just labor and materials. So at least so that we have that option. But I agree that if we can look at our reserves, see what that really is and how it will affect us moving forward. I'd hate to tie them up for too long of a time, but certainly if we use the reserve, we're tying that up, and we're going to then be paying it back through whatever taxes we get in. So
Understood.
That's it. That's all I had.
Thank you, Mr. Farmer, and then Mr.
Go ahead.
Papineau.
Papineau, you go ahead. I'll go after.
So, yeah, I am concerned about inflation if we decide to try and do this a little bit at a time. In spite of what you hear, and inflation's down to 3%, that means it's still going up at a rate of 3%. It's not going backwards. So we're not going to be going down ever. We're going up from here. So count that future expense against, the unfortunately high interest rate for the bond. I am no favor of taking on debt, 30-year debt. However, when I moved to town, I probably could have got a few options for cash, but my wife wasn't necessarily pleased with those. And there's a little cost benefit. Sometimes you have to take out a mortgage. If we can work some of these things to limit that mortgage down to as low as we can, then that's just common sense. And the final thing is the second half of this discussion we haven't mentioned tonight is there's a cost-benefit analysis. And the benefit's a little bit harder, but the mayor and I have spent quite a bit of time in the past year working with potential ways to increase visitation and sales tax revenues and so forth for Galt. And I know it's hard to quantify, but what difference in income to the city to offset this cost would be driven by a couple of softball tournaments, filling up hotels, filling up restaurants, having Littleton turn into something that people are going to want to use at a higher price point. Not that they're settling for because it's worth, a piddly amount of money. So I think as much as we can when we come back to this, talk about what would be the potential benefit of making these improvements to our overall economy, to draw from outside, as well as to better serve our local community.
Is that all? Thank you, sir. Mr. Farmer.
I just had a couple questions about on the cost for the first phase, to finish the 3 softball fields. It says engineering at $4 million and the additional adult fields at 6.9. Is that $4 million engineering? Is that for the whole project, or is that?
I believe those numbers got flip-flopped accidentally. The engineering is not 4 million and the project 1.2. It should be the opposite, so.
Okay, so the construction cost is 4 million and the engineering is 1.2.
Correct.
Okay. So then my question would be, does the 1.2 engineering for the whole project, for all the fields, or if we just did the first 3 fields, would that engineering cost change? Or you get my point of the question?
Yeah, so the engineering cost that's there is only for 2A, not 2B. So that 6.9 million, there is a portion of that that's engineering is included in that one for 2B.
Okay. So I did have a couple more questions, but Mr. Hines did kind of touch on those, which was his thought of the 3 softball fields, which we all agree is a huge priority because of all the ongoing need for more fields. I mean, that's only 5.2 million. I mean, we got 4 million, even if you take out the 800,000 for the Littleton, which he did also suggest, refining those numbers down. So that was my next question. So I appreciate that, to get some good hard numbers on Littleton that are up to date. But we'd be, the 2.6 match is 5 point. So essentially what I'm looking at is we look like we can already come up with the money as it is to do the first 3 softball fields for Walker Park. So we wouldn't even.
I agree with you.
So my last thing would just be, when does the match have to take place by? Is there a time period for that grant?
We were just awarded the grant, so we'll get you those details at the next meeting. I don't know when the state funds these grants. If we were awarded it yesterday, I would imagine they're looking to fund it sometime next year, but
okay,
it's going to happen sometime in the winter or late spring.
Okay. And then you did answer my other where I was going to go, which was to just use 2.6 of the reserve to match, and you said that didn't seem unreasonable if we were to look at that. So again, I seem like we've kind of shifted some stuff around. It seems like we could come up with that money, but I would like to really talk sooner than later about these Littleton stuff. So as soon as staff could come back with us with some hard numbers on Littleton, these repairs and things, I would like to see those because I think that's something I would like to see moving forward sooner than later. And my last comment would be to what Kevin said, and I agree that a new facility would be great. But something that Kevin said kind of jumped at me, and it's like, if we build a new center and then we can charge more money, well, the purpose of the Littleton Center is so community organizations can use it. I don't think that they would be keen to say, oh, so we spent taxpayer money to build this new facility, and then now we're all going to get charged more money to use it. I mean, ideally, we try to give these people tax breaks to use it. We give them discounts. So I wouldn't really like that concept. But anyways, that's it. I think
We rent that out to other people. We don't just give it to the community. We rent it to organizations and people with weddings and that kind of stuff. So I was trying to think of making it marketable to people that want something nice.
I
not
think
people that want it
certainly both can be true. If there's no other further comment, I think staff is satisfied, yes?
Yes.
Thank you.
We do have public comment.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Chris Brossman.
Thank you, City Council. Thanks for the chance to speak again. You brought up something near and dear to me, which has been since Measure Q has come along, that I firmly believe that Measure Q funds were meant to supplement, not replace general fund dollars. This year, you guys pretty much left those dollars alone. Now I'm hearing that we're again looking at those dollars and redirecting them. That is not the intention of when I looked at that ballot measure. It was purely to supplement general fund dollars that were currently being spent. Now, I thought the 1037 email that we got yesterday was a nice email. And I think tonight's conference or the conversations brought up option 4, which I think all of you know my feelings about taking on debt and paying interest are, I'm not a big, huge fan of it. And yeah, there's a time and a place for it, but usually there's a return on equity for it. Rome was not built in a day was one of my sayings that came through my mind while I listened to you guys. You know, and yeah, it would make all 5 of you look good. And it'd make the city happy that we had everything done in one day or 1 year. And we took on $12 million in debt to do that. But reality is we're going to pay a price for that $12 million, and it's an additional $12 million. I'm not willing to do that. 2A, I thought Sean hit the nail on the head. I thought Jay hit the nail on the head. You look at it, we've got a 2.6 match. We've got 1.4 surplus coming in. That's going with a 3.5 budget. I mean, realistically, Measure R is going to bring in 2.2, which means that Measure Q is going to bring in 4.4. So reality, we're probably understating the revenues on Measure Q on the dollars. We've got 500,000 since we're not doing a tourist bureau, I guess, that I'd be fine with redirecting those ARPA funds towards 2A in Building 3. And then I think the general fund could take the rest of that. And we'd have 3 fields, and they'd be paid for. The Littleton Center, really the first time I'm hearing, you know, in public that we're really serious on it. I'd be curious as a citizen to see what that remodel, and that sounds like what the city council was looking to do. But in public forums, I've heard that we were going to look at the Littleton remodel, but having to go for $12 million doesn't make much sense. I also heard conversations of a skate park being built. And if we redirect all these funds and we don't allow Measure Q to supplement Parks and Rec, I don't know a skate park will ever be built. And I'm not a skater, never was, but I certainly think that it would be cool. And I think that would give our youth something to do, especially those guys that don't play baseball, don't play softball. We got a lot of softball fields already, guys. We got a lot of baseball fields already. I know it brings a lot of revenue to the town. I know it brings in traveling teams. Traveling teams are not the citizens of Galt. Does it bring a benefit to the citizens of Galt? Absolutely. Am I against 3 more fields? No. I'd also be curious, last time we talked, we were going to get together with the school districts and talk about the funding, whether they'd be willing to do some partnerships. So to me, that 2B, and look at the school and say, okay, well, what are you guys willing to put up to the plate? That's really all of mine, other than I'm not a 30-year debt. I think if we wanted to, we could take out a short-term bank loan with a low interest rate just because there's not much more secure, and we could borrow $1 million to make up that deficit on doing 2A if we weren't willing, and the interest rate would still be a whole lot less, and we'd get our objection taken care of. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Mr. Boring, or anybody on staff, there are funds are or not already committed to Escape Park?
City Council has allocated $600,000 for the skate park that was brought to you. The request was to go out to see a more permanent cement park, and we are currently in that process right now to bring you some options.
Thank you. So I just want to double check that. So to the gentleman's point, those funds will not affect what we have just discussed.
Unless you pick a more expensive option, then we'll have to come up with more funding. You have $600,000 in for that project currently.
Okay, thank you.
So what was the funding source for that 600,000?
It was ARPA.
It was ARPA, okay. So there's definitely a different funding source. So, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to conclude. We were fortunate enough to get this good news yesterday. We would have liked to have had it last week because we could have weaved in some options, but we have it, and so we're very fortunate. We'll make sure to weave that option in the next time we bring this back around.
Thank you.
Okay.
With that, we'll move on to Parks and Recreation Department. Subject is Galt Market plastic bags. Mr. Solis.
Let's talk trash. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. We'll be bringing to you a presentation regarding Galt Market plastic bags that was requested by Council to bring back. Jackie Garcia, Special Events Manager, will be providing the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and City staff. I don't have the clicker, though.
I'm sorry, it's right here.
So good evening again. So today I'm going to bring to you a recap and what we were tasked with to speak with our vendors on the carryout and plastic bag plan that we have. So we did on February 21st, staff were directed to research the plastic bag usage and how to reduce waste at the Galt Flea Market operations. Many concerns were brought up that the plastic bags were not discarded properly. There was a lot of litter found in the streets, waterways, trees, and neighborhood properties. Also, the current plastic bags being used were not recyclable, and they're often placed in recyclable bins. Once we had that meeting, myself and city staff took it upon ourselves to do a survey, and we surveyed our monthly vendors, and at that time it was over 200 plus vendors. During that time of surveying the vendors, there was many talking points that we went over to let them know and make them aware of what we discussed. Some of them were aware and made aware that we were considering shifting away from having plastic bags at the market and finding any continued efforts to keep our community of trash and litter. As well as we also let them know that there was going to be a plastic bag informational meeting to determine on what the possibilities were of removing plastic bags, our usage of plastic bags, and creating some type of plan of a bring your own bag campaign. During that survey, this information was found. So the first question that we asked was, do you use single plastic bags? Out of the 214 response that we received, I have to go to my page so I can see that. 84% of the vendors were using plastic bags, and 15% were not. The next question would be, do you currently provide reusable bags? And if so, do you charge a fee? So again, it was 84% was currently providing reusable bags, and the 15% were not, or charging. Out of the 228 responses in that week, how many plastic bags do they use? And again, it shows in the survey here that 50 bags or less was the 66%, 50 to 300 bags for the 26, and 300 or more was the 7.5%.
Ms. Garcia, sorry to interrupt you. I know it's hard to read. I see people squinting in the audience. When you reference the percentages, could you say like red, yellow, blue on the graph? Thank you.
So the next one is I'm open to bring your own bag campaign at the flea market. And just to kind of give you an idea of what the bring your own bag campaign would be, it would be to create and educate and implement and encourage vendors and consumers to bring their own reusable bags. So on that, on the blue section of 213 responses, 83.6% said yes. And I'm on the orange, it's 16.4% said no. So the next question that we asked them is, would they like to share any ideas or any ways that they could improve, or how this would affect them if we were to implement this process? Some of the words that were said multiple times is that they would be frustrated, it would increase their cost, expenses, it would cause them challenges, it would impact their revenue. Clean, they talked about recycling, how they could educate the customers in bringing their own bags and carry out bags. So after we did this survey, we did another analysis with other flea markets that were similar to what we provide on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So Tuesdays and Wednesdays, we obviously provide the plastic bags. We also have tote bags that are available inside the market office, and anytime we have a promotional or marketing event at the flea market, we give out tote bags for free. So the ones that are comparable to us is San Jose. They currently do not have any policy on plastic bags, and only produce vendors use plastic bags. Denios is no policies, and market does not provide tote bags. The Napa Flea Market has no policy, and the Delta Flea Market has no policy. One of the things that I just want to inform you also is to be aware, we also have a total of 33 trash cans that are throughout the market grounds, as well as 10 recyclable cans to hopefully eliminate some of the extra trash that's being caused out there. So efforts to become plastic bag reduction that we could go that way is develop a plastic bag reduction at the market, provide educational resources and outreach to vendors on new ways of adopting plastic bags, connect with key stakeholders in the community, and create a marketing campaign of bringing reusable bags by shopping at the market, and educate and ensure our staff understand the importance and type of reusable bags. The impact of the plastic bag reduction would be that we need to develop a marketing campaign that would include the Bring Your Own Bag campaign, and create the campaign and how we're going to educate the vendors. Staff time to coordinate with local waste managements to ensure the language is consistent with effective of reducing the single-use bags. And to continue conducting stakeholder outreach to obtain input on the Bring Your Own Bag campaign. And one of the things that we found that other markets do, farmers markets, is they provide an inclusion of financial hardship exemptions for vendors that aren't able to purchase their own plastic bags, the recyclable ones. So the benefits that we found if we were to reduce the plastic bags is efforts to keep our neighborhood clean with less plastic bag litter. Waste reduction generates goodwill in the community, and a model to carry forward in the spirit of conservation. And that's all I have. Any questions?
I have a question.
Mr. Lozano.
Yeah, so it was brought to my attention by a vendor that, and I know we're talking about plastic bags, so I don't really necessarily want to get into the weeds on it, but that the issue may not be just a plastic bag issue. The issue may be vendor plastic and paper trash that's left behind in their actual stalls. And so can you walk us through what we do to address that And one of the other concerns, just briefly, is that vendors, after the market has ended for the day, don't have access to trash cans for a long period of time, or a reasonable period of time after it closes. And so what do we do with that?
Do you want me to take that?
I'll be happy to discuss that. When that was brought to my attention, I did call over to Jackie regarding the trash not being accessible to our vendors. And we've made a change as of today. They will be available throughout the night for all vendors. So that is an immediate change for that. We have an administrative policy in place where we can fine our vendors should we find that they leave any trash behind. We have staff members that will drive up and down the rows collecting cardboard and trash from the vendors that they can easily throw into a 2-yard container as they tow. So those are some of the things we do.
So these trash cans travel? Is that what I heard?
Yes, we have 10, 12 2-yard containers that hook to the back of the carts, and they go up and down the rows.
Okay, and the vendors are aware that they can put more than just cardboard?
Yes,
for
well,
recycling, they can put...
we typically have the cardboard on the back of the cart, and then the trash would be thrown into the bin.
Okay, and then just one last question. If we have a policy that vendors are not to leave trash behind, how do we, and again, I apologize for going into the weeds a little bit on this, but how do we enforce that? And do we enforce it?
We have enforced it in the past. It's basically when they're blatant leaving trash in their piles of, typically it's our used vendors, our garage sale type vendors. They didn't sell it, it was junk to them, they wound up leaving it, and they've come for the one time. We put a note in their file that it was left, and if they do come back, we can address it at that point. Each one of our vendors has a unique ID in our system that we can add notes to as they check in and try and rent spaces.
Okay, I would just, since we made some changes, I would just encourage the market staff to do a educational campaign, because there are vendors, like I said, I talked to one last night, that told me the trash can gets turned over it before they even have a chance to. I think the example was they needed to put their food waste, not food waste, but lunch waste in there, and they rush out to get to the trash can. So whatever we can do to make sure that the trash cans are available, because I see in the area here not only plastic bags, it's other trash as well. So
we've addressed that issue today.
Okay, and then like I said, just if we can moving forward, make sure that our vendors are aware of that and what the new policy is going to be on trash containers.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Mr. Farmer?
First, Jackie, thanks for the presentation. Very interesting. I did have a conversation with Mr. Solis today. We had a conversation a while back about this, and for anybody who's been paying attention, this was kind of like pushed forward by myself, but I do appreciate the council allowing it to be an agenda item so we could, visit this. I think it's no secret that like one of my big crusades is to keep Galt clean. I'm a firm believer in the broken window theory, and I think, if you keep Galt looking nice, it's going to be contagious, and my efforts to continue anything that's going to help that are always going to be, in my heart. So, and I believe by leading by example. I know the presentation showed the other markets, and it's disappointing I don't see that. I saw the one about Delta, and I just laughed. It's like, if I wanted to be like Delta, I'd probably just dump more garbage in town, because Stockton is, I don't look at them as an example of what to follow. So I look at them as what not to be like. But, in our community cleanups that we've done, that beautification started years ago, and that the Youth Commission and all these, other people participate in, what we always found was the biggest offenders of litter were always businesses, like the parking lots, and the businesses were always really the worst places. And the Galt market is a big business. It's one of the biggest. I mean, second to Walmart, it's probably the most. And the fact that it's an open air market is what makes it challenging, because the garbage tends to blow out of sight of the footprint of the market, especially on bad days. You know, in my discussion with Mr. Solis, I think what it is there's two different things here. There's plastic bags, which is what we're talking about, and how much of the trash that we're seeing that's a problem is the plastic bags. And then there is who's committing who's the biggest offender. Is it the vendors, like have been discussed, who are making the mess, or is it the customers, is it the people that are coming into our town and then buying stuff, and then they go out in the parking lot and they go, you know, we don't live here, and they just throw their garbage on the ground? I mean, it's probably both. I heard the same thing that Mr. Lozano brought up, which I appreciate Mr. Solis addressing that, because I think that there was a little bit of a problem with not having access to cans. I don't believe the garbage that I witnessed, and I live near the market, and I drive through there, that parking lot frequently, and leading up to this tonight, a couple months ago, I actually stopped after a market day and picked up a whole garbage bag full of what was garbage, and then I went home and laid it all out and like took photographs of it all, and the majority of it was plastic bags. There was some like tissue from boxes, there was a McDonald's bag, and some other stuff, but definitely plastic bags was a big piece of it. So we go back to if really my crusade here is, you know, I mean, I obviously helping the environment is important, but if my real crusade here is to just keep Galt cleaner and try to mitigate the amount of trash that we're seeing at the market, how do we do that? I think what Mr. Lozano suggested with the education, I believe an education campaign where we start reminding vendors, hey, you know, we have a policy where we're going to fine you or whatever. We don't really want to do that because we don't want to scare our vendors away. I get that. But we will enforce this very heavy-handedly, and we expect you to pick up your spot. I think education could help on that aspect. The additional or keeping the garbage cans open could also help. With the outside, with the people throwing trash up there, you know, I don't know. But like I said, I believe that we need to lead by example. I think whatever we do, whether it's the transitioning away from plastic bags or, you know, implementing some other idea that maybe you guys have to keep the market, to mitigate the trash. But all I know is that I have people come to me that live in the neighborhoods, and they said, thank you for Parks and Rec staff, and you know some of the people that we've dealt with. Thank you for them coming and cleaning up. You guys have given phone numbers and say, if you have any garbage in your yard, you call me personally, I'll send somebody out and we'll take care of it. And you guys are good about that, and I hear that. But what I hear from them too is, though, they don't want the garbage in their yard in the first place, though, and that's the problem. So that's kind of where this all came from, you know, just trying to, you know, this isn't about making it challenging for vendors. This isn't about ruining relationship with your vendors and driving people away from the Galt market that want to sell there. I saw your little word collage thing, and it said expense, and that puzzled me because we're not asking them to actually incur any additional expense. We're asking them, they don't have to provide plastic bags anymore. That would actually be a cost savings. My original idea was we figure out a way to implement a bring your own bag, or we figure out some kind of program where we can supply people that walk in the market with a reusable bag, so the vendors don't have to supply bags. So the vendors are not going to incur a cost. So I just want to throw that out there. I'd like to hear public comment, but that's what I have to say so far on this topic.
Thank you, sir. Is there any public comment?
I have two public comments. Ken Lee.
Good evening, council members. I'm Ken Lee, currently living at Galt Place Senior Apartment. Within the market, it's not the public dumping. If you go there before 2 o'clock, there's no trash on the ground. No plastic bags, no trash. You don't see the trash until the vendors pack up at 2 o'clock. There's no vendor using reuse bags. It would be eco-friendly to encourage reuse bags or cloth bags to promote downtown businesses, as well as fundraising for civic and non-profit groups to sell reusable bags. Flea market staff does a good job picking up the trash all through the day. It's the wholesale vendors leaving most of the trash. They need to be educated to make an effort to pick up and contain their trash. Right now, they're just leaving it on the ground where they could be putting it in a big box and contain it. Staff needs to photograph and warn them on the trash that they leave. And basically, if you shut the east gate at 2 o'clock, that's where the trash blows out at. It blows toward the east and it goes out the gates toward the back. And vendors need to cut down their boxes because that's the biggest fill up of the trash containers is people leaving the box whole instead of cutting it down. And the flea market is in a business area of Galt, and we expect the commercial business to implement reuse bags, and so should the market. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa Klotz.
My name is Lisa Klotz. I am the Education Coordinator at Cal Waste Recovery Systems. And I want to thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. I'm here tonight because we received some questions at Cal Waste about this issue and about plastic bags. And so I was asked by management to come and give you an educational point of view. So the point about plastic bags that I really want to make right now is that plastic bags, plastic film of all kind, bubble wrap, anything that's wrapped around a product, any of those kinds of things, they are not allowed in the recycling bin. So when you're talking about having a trash bin and a recycling bin, we need to be sure that they're headed to the right bin, because none of those things, plastic bags, plastic wrap, bubble wrap, is allowed in the recycling process. I can say that at Cal Waste, through our materials recovery facility, plastic, sheet plastic, plastic bags, bubble wrap, all of those kinds of things are one of the #1 contaminants that come in our trash. So it's what they call wish cycling. They wish it could be recycled, they think it could, or perhaps that recycling can was closer to them than the trash can. So it's just one of those issues that sort of reaches beyond. I'm listening to the conversation that you're having today. It's a lot about just general trash and contaminants. And so what we have found for the most part is that it's not the plastic itself, it's how it's handled, who handles it, how it's handled, where it's placed. It's the human part of the plastic. So I think educational campaign, that's my job, is relevant. And we're not here to advocate one way or the other of what you need to do with this policy for this city, but questions did come into Cal Waste, and they wanted me to come and give you a viewpoint of how plastic is handled through the recycling process. Plastic of all kinds at this point must go in the trash, which means it ends up in the landfill. But you don't want to get me started there, because I talk about it all day long and I'll way exceed my 5 minutes. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I don't, if you have any questions in the future that you need to ask us, you know where to find us.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Solis, we got 2 presentations, so I'm looking at the one, I guess, that was in our packet, and it has some photos, a couple of them of the parking lot and or grass areas up along the fence. Are those inside the market property or outside in the park? Well, it's technically the market property, but is it outside where the public parks as opposed to where the vendors stage?
It's where the public parks. That is, the pictures that you see there are the one-way parking lot between the sports complex and the market. Where you see the grass area is the sports complex.
Okay, great. So I appreciate what you guys have done and are doing about garbage cans and addressing directly to the vendors. If any, how many garbage cans are put in the parking lots for convenience? Because people are going to do what's most convenient. And you shopping cart in our local shopping center is great example of that. If it's 15 parking spots away, it's going to be right there next to my car as I drive away. You know, if it's 5 away, I may slide it over into the slot that it's supposed to be, but that's just human nature. So are we working to make convenience for the general public and their garbage as they leave?
Every exit and entrance to the market has a garbage can next to it.
But we don't have any in the parking lot.
It's not designed to have any in the parking lot. They are all parking spaces.
I agree, that was a concern of mine. Yeah.
And then in the park side, I believe there's 5 on that side of the park. But if I can possibly come up with a compromise for council, that this may be easier, and the fact that we currently go out at 2 p.m. To clean the neighborhoods, to start cleaning the neighborhoods. May I recommend on a trial basis for the next 2 months that we go out, we add an additional morning cleaning, probably around 10 or 11, and to see if that's effective and what you guys are trying to accomplish, and seeing if it reduces the garbage in the neighborhoods.
Why do you think this would be different? It seems like you're cleaning before the problem arises.
By 11 o'clock, if there's some issue, we're trying to stay on top of it versus somebody getting home at 1 or 2 o'clock or going home for lunch and possibly noticing this. It's just something to just add extra cleaning to make sure that we get everything.
Well, I certainly think it's worth a try. So, you know, there's no voting item, there's just a general discussion, and I don't know that we gave you enough clarification. Mr. Farmer?
Yeah, I appreciate the compromise. I think that'd be a good place to start. I think if you, based on our conversation earlier today, I think you hinted that you thought there was a lot of trash being left outside the market. You kind of mentioned that you think that it's less about trash blowing, getting outside the market, unless the windy days, of course, or something, but it's more about people actually depositing that trash in those areas in the first place, outside in the parking lot. So if you guys could, you know, redirect some sort of manpower, if you're possible to do that, to try to mitigate that for a time period and see if that makes an impact, I think that'd be a good place to start. I think that, along with the education on the current policy with vendors, and the keeping the cans available longer, like you already mentioned you've done, I think those 3 things could potentially, you know, have an impact. And so I would be willing to start with that and then maybe revisit this, you know, maybe come springtime and see what the feeling is. And, you know, I'll keep an eye on it too, obviously, and see my thoughts. But I don't want to just kill the conversation about the plastic in general, because I think there's a bigger concept to it too, that outside of trash and how we should be, you know, being good stewards. One thing that jumped out at me with Lisa's comment was that she was saying, you know, let's just assume that everybody did a good job throwing away their, let's just say that this works and everybody's doing a great job and the grounds are so much cleaner. What we're still left with is 300 vendors and God knows how many people come to our market, bringing these plastic bags into our community that end up in our landfill. If we could eliminate these people bringing these bags into our community in the first place, it's just less garbage being brought into Galt. So that's what her comments made me think of. So I think long term, I still think I want to look at something of a policy change, but I think in the immediate future, I like your compromise and I'd be willing to go that. I thank you for bringing that up. So that's what my input is, Mr. Mayor. I don't know if.
Thank you. I would agree with that. You know, I think maybe the only thing I would add is if there's a couple of extra trash bags on, I guess it's the east side, if there's a grass area past the sidewalk, you could put some garbage cans, perhaps, just convenience. Any other, you know, we need at least 3 people to agree for consensus, so.
I like where you guys are going, and I appreciate the work, and I'm confident that you, working with the Cal Waste, who we have a very good relationship with, you'll continue down the road of addressing the problem.
Thank you. I believe that makes 3. Makes 4, he says. Okay, very good. Okay, so with that, that should end the discussion, and we'll move on to the next subject. Item 3, Kiwanis Club donations. Mr. Solis.
Yes, Mayor and City Council. A little background on the City of Galt's relationship with the Kiwanis Club. In 2007, the Kiwanis Club had entered into agreement with the city to purchase bag dispensers, providing them to the city for our dog park located at Monterey Park. In exchange, we put the name Home of the Kiwanis Bark Parks into our signage. The Kiwanis Club approached the Parks and Rec Department and offered a donation of $10,000 to upgrade our dog park. They are asking, we went out, got some costs to replace both dog parks, and depending on what you want to do, it's about an additional $15,000 to outfit both parks. That's plus their 10, so a total of $25,000. That's for us to install them, and that's for some type like of equipment. To match the current equipment and have a company install them, we have a rough estimate of $74,000 to do that. So they're asking the city to provide some money to get both parks done, which would range from about $15,000 to $20,000, depending on how much you wanted to spend, and then up to $75,000 to have it installed. If not, that $20,000 would include staff installation that our new facility maintenance people would be able to do.
Okay.
So at this time, we're asking you to consider their letter, and if you're willing to provide any money towards this park, indicate which fund you're able to donate from or provide it from, transfer from. A couple of options are Measure Q and our general fund. And we have a representative from the Kiwanis Club here, if you have any questions for them.
Thank you. Any questions from council?
Yeah, I'll start it off. Mr. Solis, so I'm looking at the staff report, so please clarify. So the $19,506 is for, that's for Monterey Park? And then there's the, break it down. I'm confused on this. Is there two different things we're looking at here?
The first page is, of the quote, is just for the equipment. It has it for the small dog park, which is $564 just for the equipment. And for the large dog park, it is $6,100 and $9,389. The taxes are to the right. So it's a total of $15,000 plus freight is close to $2,500. Tax is an additional $1,400, totaling nearly $20,000 just for the equipment.
So that's not installing the equipment?
That is not installing the equipment. That is just for the equipment. And if you'd like to go with this type of quote, again, this is just a rough quote. We'd have to go out to bid as it's over the $10,000 mark. But, and I would add another additional $5,000 for cement, tools, and that.
So then what's the 45,000, what's the?
So the next quote, and believe it or not, that was to install water fountains for the dogs and the people. But earlier in this meeting, you guys approved a grant that we received. And in that grant, we will be providing those two items, water for for humans, and water bowls for the dogs. So when you see that $45,000, you're taking $16,000 out of almost $18,000 out of that because of the water fountains.
So we got a total of $51,812. That's for everything.
Right.
Then
That
take
would, that
out-
would have been for water fountains and
And then
everything.
take out the grant money, which is 18,000,
It's going to be
Correct.
roughly 27,000.
roughly 32,000 then.
Yeah, so you could see the difference in
Taking
the,
out 18,000, right?
yeah, you would take out $18,000.
Out of 51.
And then you can see the type of equipment that are provided in both.
So 51, take away 18, and then the Kiwanis are willing to pony up a 10,000. So you're roughly be looking at like right around $23,000 maybe ish.
To get it done on the, let's just exchange for new equipment, not for like equipment, we can get it done for a total of 25. If you want to go for like equipment, which is the second route, would be close to 30. So it would be 20 from you. And if you want it installed, it would be 74,000 total.
Oh, so that 51 doesn't include the installation?
No. And we felt we could provide the installation with the
I
new,
was just going to ask you that, okay.
but with the new facility maintenance people that were approved.
So I do hear a lot about the dog park. People love the dog park. It's widely used. I, of course, don't use it. I don't live over there. But as a dog owner and a pet owner, I can see, why it's so popular. I've had people complain about it and say it needs this or it needs that or whatever. And I know these complaints span a lot further back when we were struggling with maintenance. But I think it's kind of cool. This is kind of what goes into what we were talking about earlier, where there's other things in the community besides softball and stuff that are important when it comes to Parks and Rec. I appreciate the Kiwanis putting in 10,000. I think it would be great if the city could step up and try to match something. Obviously, it's more than a match, but I think we got 1.4 million sitting in Measure Q right now, and we're asking for 25. That's such a small piece. The dog park's very important. I know this is kind of I thought about this long and hard today. I don't think that's a big ask. If you guys are willing to do it with staff install to save money there. So I actually would support, the community stepping up and they're chipping in. I think that's a good example.
Mr. Lozano.
Yeah, I have kind of a crazy question here, but just bear with me. I know that when you work in the area of parks, and I know we're talking about a dog park, but there's a bunch of legislation out there that legislates safety of these facilities, right? And again, I think that's intended for kids and things like that, but I just want to make sure that we don't have any of those things that we need to contend with, and that if we do install it ourselves, our staff has the capacity to do that.
They do, and we would have it inspected after we install them to make sure that we were all on the same page and it's all safe.
Okay. It just, and the only reason I bring that up is because of all the legislation I know that's around park facilities, but also kids climb on those regularly, and so at the dog park. And so, but I think this is a great opportunity. And going back, 5 or 6 years ago, I talked about public-private partnerships, and I think we've done that in many arenas in the area of youth sports, and certainly this is another example of that. And I want to thank the Kiwanis for being willing to take their hard-earned funds that they've raised to put toward this. And so I would be supportive of it as well, and I think it'll serve the entire community pretty well. So, thank you.
So once you would set a dollar amount of which you'd like to match or provide, then we would go out and get formal bids for that. These were just kind of numbers for you guys to kind of look at what's out there. If you want to go a little less than what we have or exactly what we have, your range is $15,000 to $30,000. If you want it installed, you're adding another 65 to it.
Mr. Slees, at this time, we're looking very much close to 2025, right?
That is one option. The 30 is another option to almost provide you as is what's there to replace.
Yeah, certainly, I would agree with other council member. I'm agree whatever need to do, but thank you for the Kiwanis. They're bringing their own $10,000, the community bonds. But I was thinking, I don't know, everybody else just put the budget around 20 to 25, and then go from there.
Can you clarify, so if your staff installs and already factoring in the 10,000 for Kiwanis, you'd be looking at about 30,000 for like equipment?
So for the like equipment, we're looking at about $30,000 because we're taking out the water fountains.
So you're saying about, so you don't have hard numbers yet, but
Well,
you're
these
looking
are
for some.
these are quotes. They're not formal bids.
But I hate to say 25 and then you guys find out that it's 26 or 7 and you have to come back or you cut something out. So, I mean, I want to squabble over $5,000, but I would also like you guys to sharpen your pencils as much as possible, you know.
We will.
So I would be supportive of whatever the council wants to do. I'd be comfortable with 30, but if you guys want to do 25, I'd support that too. Right.
Yeah.
Mr. Pompano.
You know, we've got this Measure Q stuff, and this is what it's for. And I'm not in favor of saying that we're going to take our Measure Q money and go out and refurbish your park with lesser equipment than there is now. So my feeling would be, go out there, and if 30 is the limit, or you think you can come in under that to replace it with like equipment,
yes,
then do that.
I would also support that, and I would like to see it, if staff could install it, that seems to be a sensible cost savings.
Yep. Is this an action item or is this?
Is there any public comment on this item? No, there's not an action
No
item.
public comment.
No public comment, so I think that finishes that off nicely. Next is communications. Then next is city clerk report, mayor and vice mayor appointment, agenda report by Ms. Hubbard.
I'm going to turn the directions over to the city attorney.
Sorry, the chief of police was talking to me. Yeah. So the council, I'm pretty sure knows the drill, but for the benefit of the public and just as a reminder, the process here is a nomination process. City clerk will open up the nomination period for the election of the mayor first, and any council member can nominate any candidate to be the mayor. We will, after all the names are nominated, the city clerk will close the nomination period, and then she will do a roll call vote on each of the candidates in the order in which they were nominated. So the first named candidate will be voted on first, and the first one to get a majority, first candidate to get the majority roll call vote will be the mayor. So if 3 candidates are mentioned, the first one is voted on and you get 3 votes, then that person will be the mayor. There's no need to do the second and third roll call votes for the second and third candidates. And then we'll move on to the election of the vice mayor. That new mayor that was just selected would then open the nomination period, and we would do the same thing with the election of the vice mayor. So unless there's any questions, Tina?
Any questions?
Nope.
Okay, I hereby open the nominations for mayor.
I
Nominate Jay to continue.
I nominate Vice Mayor Paul Sandu.
You have to have seconds on something?
No, I'm making notes real quick. Okay, so for the nomination for Jay Vandenberg, Vice Mayor Sandu,
Yes.
Councilmember Papineau.
He has a question.
Oh,
You going to?
I'm going in
Yeah. Say
order.
No.
So just to clarify, your vote's a no.
We're voting on Mr. Vandenberg.
Jay Vandenberg.
Right,
And he voted no, correct?
Okay, that's what I was asking.
No. Councilmember Papineau,
Yes.
Councilmember Farmer,
No.
Councilmember Lozano,
Yes.
Mayor Vandenberg.
No.
On the nomination for Paul Sandu, Vice Mayor Sandu.
Yes, I'm going to open the vice mayor nomination.
No.
No,
We're voting on your name.
Yes or no for you, sir?
Yes.
Councilmember Papineau,
No.
Councilmember Farmer,
Yes.
Councilmember Lozano,
Yes.
Mayor Vandenberg.
Yes.
Okay, we have
Congratulations, Paul.
majority vote.
Thank you. Thank you for this.
With that, we need to change seats, correct?
You're fine right there for now.
Okay. Oh, you're in charge, sir.
So now you'll open the nominations for vice mayor.
I'd like to open the nomination for vice mayor, and I also like to nominate Jay Vanderberg for vice mayor.
I would like to nominate Rich Lozano as vice mayor.
Okay. Doesn't sound like there's any more nominations, so.
Who votes first now?
So
Evan?
you're there, so you can just go in the line like normal. Start with Papno.
You have to announce who we're voting on.
Yeah.
Oh, so, Councilmember Papano?
The first nominee was for Jay Vandenberg.
Right, so where is board can
So
start?
start with,
Mr. Pompano on
Yeah.
whether,
Mr. Papano?
No.
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 yes.
Yes.
Next was Rich Lozano.
oh,
So, yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Papano?
Yes.
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 okay, so Rich Lozano is vice mayor. So you can continue.
Oh,
Sorry. We just finished. I didn't mark any of those off yet.
all right, the next agenda item is K, comment by staff.
I believe we don't have any comments tonight. Back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you. And comments by city council. Mr. Papano?
I just want to, as has been done earlier, thank our staff for the clarity on the budget specifically and the tremendous improvements that have been made in that regard and the hard work on all the other agenda items. And that'll be it for tonight.
Councilmember Vandenberg?
Thank you, sir. I would like to thank Mr. Pompano for nominating me, although I greatly appreciate the nomination and the votes. I really do. Certain life changes that I did not anticipate when I became mayor have come about, and some are well known to everybody, and others are only known by a select few. It's just not something that would be in the best interest of myself and or the city. So again, thank you for the vote. I really do appreciate it. It was a bit surprising, to be quite honest. Thank you to the staff for listening to us. Thank you for doing a good, hard job every time we come in here, no matter how hard we are on you or soft. I appreciate what you guys do. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can I break the order for a second?
Yeah.
Yes, it's my honor to nominate you. I think you've done a phenomenal job over the past year, and we worked closely in some regards on the ad hoc committee and stuff. So we have quite a year coming up, and I would have been blessed to have your leadership as we take on these endeavors. But I'll shut up now.
Thank you. I'm really glad that's on film. Thank you, sir.
Councilmember Sean Farmer.
First, yeah, I just want to thank the people who come to made public comment. Of course, we all say it, but we do appreciate the public comment. This is your meeting, so we want to hear from you guys. I wanted to thank the Parks and Rec staff for all the holiday activities that you guys have been doing and all of it. It's a lot, and social media and everything. So I appreciate all their hard work, and I want to thank you guys as well, and also the police department and Public Works and everybody involved with the Christmas parade, all the staff, really. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts, but very successful parade, was great. I've heard nothing but positive about it, and it's what a lot of people look forward to in our community every year, and it really helps kind of put everybody in the holiday spirit, kicking off the month of December. And lastly, just want to say congratulations to Paul on your mayorship for the coming year. Hopefully, it'll be an easy ride for you. And then lastly, to Jay, again, thank you for your service as mayor. You would have done a good job to continue another year. And I hope you didn't take offense to me not. I knew that you weren't up to it, but I felt also too that Mr. Lozano was, it was more fitting to him to serve in that second capacity. So, but thank you for your service. You've done a great job. It's not an easy job, as I know, because running the meetings and then having your own notes about what to talk about and having to control everything, it's not easy. It's very difficult.
Luckily, we have you around to keep it lively.
All right. Well, anyways, so thank you for doing that for the year.
Thank you.
And with that, that's all I have.
The Vice Mayor Lozano.
Yeah, thank you, Jay, for your, former Mayor Kent Vandenberg, for your year of service. I think you did an excellent job, and certainly would have liked to see you continue, but I understand. And thank you for all your hard work and keeping our meetings in order as best you can. And congratulations, Paul, for mayor next year. I know you'll do a fine job. And I want to thank my colleagues for trusting me to help lead. I want to just go over a few events, and I won't drag it out like I normally do, but the wreath laying ceremony was for Ammo Control Officer Rory Markham, who was murdered in our city 11 years ago, was last Tuesday. The police department did an excellent job once again to see that this tradition continues in honoring Officer Markham. So thank you and thank the staff for everything they did, including the trumpet playing of taps. That was awesome. And then lighting of the night, it was great. This was the first year that I didn't participate in the actual parade, and I sat over by the tree and watched it. And if you haven't done that, it's a must. It went for almost an hour long, and it was excellent and very well attended by community and tons of people from outside of our community. So great work to Parks and Rec and Jackie and everybody that put that together. Certainly Mr. Selling and Chief Kalinowski's departments as well. I attended the MAC at night, and hopefully it'll come back next year out at the McFarland Ranch. And it was decorated great, not over decorated for Christmas, but it certainly had a nice touch. And so if you've been out there before to see the McFarland Ranch, otherwise next year plan on going out because it was excellent. They even had a band playing last night, so it was great. And then I just want to, two last things, I promise. Want to remind everybody the Galt Sunrise Rotary Club is doing the community dinner once again, and it's going to be Saturday, December 16th from 1 to 4 at the Littleton Center, who is in desperate need of a refrigerator, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that before. But anyhow, it's a free event, and it's not for those who just need a meal. It's for the entire community. And we'll have turkey and everything else to go with it. And as mentioned before, Santa Claus will be there from 1 to 3. So bring the little ones or big ones and see Santa Claus and have a good meal. Pedro Ramos is doing the cooking, and I'm sure it'll be wonderful again. And then lastly, I just want to put a shout out to Dan and Tony Gerling, probably more Tony, in relation to the 95632 publication. Awesome, great work. outside of the advertisements, which were very well done and looked great, the interview, I've read 2 of them, were awesome. And so great work on that and putting out a publication to, once again, bring our community together and showcase what Galt has. And I'm going to see if I can grab a couple, maybe half a dozen extra copies for my SACOG meeting. Because we're always doing economic development at SACOG. I know we talk about transportation and housing, but when I can get others from the region to come down and spend some time in our community, it's what we want to do. So thank you so much for what you do, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Retlano. Thank you for the staff, give us a good report. Thank you, Mr. Hines and your team. Thank you for the public comment. Thank you for everybody come to the chamber, give us a good feedback, give us a comment. Especially thank you, Ken Lee, Ralph Cortez, Chris Brosman, and Lisa Klotz. And thank you for Dan Gerling. He came down today to take some pictures. Thank you. I did attend a couple of events. Last time I attended the lighting of the night event. I think this year had a most turnout I have seen. There were many floats, many activities for everyone, both at the Civic Center and 4th Street. Thank you everyone, work hard to make this event so successful. I also attended a placement of wreath for Animal Control Officer Roy Marcus in the honor of the sacrifice with Vice Mayor Rachel Zano. The last thing, I would like to thank you, Jay Baderberg, for last year for the mayor. He did excellent job. He communicated everything, I believe everybody is the right way. And congratulations him for a year he did the mayor. The second thing I really appreciate, he delegate me to be as a mayor. And you guys maybe know, this is my 5th year, this is my 2nd term. I be honored to all my colleagues, they support me as a mayor for 1 term. And I certainly will give everybody, staff, council colleagues, and citizens my 100%, what I can the best for the city. And I also like to congratulate Vice Mayor Rachel Lozano. And thank you for everybody. Thank you for the citizen. These people who appointed me as a mayor, you guys elected him. So I appreciate every citizen in this town. Any council member, any staff have any question? If it's not, then I'm going to adjourn that meeting 8:21.